1,000 miles. Imagine walking 1,000 miles. No car, no horse, no money, just a bare feet, and one reason to keep going. Her child. She didn't know if he was alive. She didn't know if she would survive the journey. She didn't even know if anyone would help her. But she walked every single day. Through mountains that froze her bones. Through deserts that burned her skin. Through storms that knocked her to her knees. And every time she fell, she thought of his face, and she got back up. This is not a fairy tale. This is the true story of Mara, the most ordinary woman who did the most extraordinary thing a mother has ever done. Stay with me, because the ending of this story will destroy you, and then put you back together again. The year was 1943. In the heart of war-torn Eastern Europe, in a small village so forgotten by the world that it didn't even appear on most maps, lived a woman named Mara. She was 34 years old, not a queen, not a warrior, not a hero, just a mother. She had rough hands from working the fields, a worn dress she had mended 17 times, and one pair of shoes that were 2 sizes too big. But she had something else, something no war could take away. She had her son, Daniel, 8 years old, with eyes the color of summer sky, and a laugh that could make even the saddest man smile. She would watch Daniel sleep, and think to herself, as long as he breathes, I breathe. As long as he lives, I live. They had nothing, but they had each other, and in 1943, that was everything. Because in 1943, everything was about to be taken away. It happened on a Tuesday morning. The kind of morning that starts like any other. Birds singing, bread baking, sun rising, and then the trucks came. 6 military trucks, roaring into the village like thunder. Soldiers jumped out before the trucks even stopped. They were taking the children, all children between ages 6 and 14, for relocation, they said. Nobody knew what that meant. Nobody dared to ask. Mara heard the screaming from inside her house. She ran out and saw them. Soldiers dragging Daniel by his arm. Her Daniel, her 8-year-old boy, screaming her name, "Mama, Mama." She ran toward him. A soldier grabbed her, threw her to the ground. She watched from the dirt as they lifted her son into the truck. She saw his small hands reaching out for her. She saw his blue eyes, wide with terror. She heard his voice cracking and breaking. "Mama, don't let them take me." And then the truck door slammed, and he was gone. Just like that, in 40 seconds, her entire world gone. She lay in the dirt for a long time. The village went quiet. Other mothers were crying around her. But Mara did not cry. She made a decision. Right there in the dirt, she was going to find her son. No matter what it took, no matter how far, no matter how long. She was going to find Daniel, or she was going to die trying. She had nothing. 3 days of bread, a thin blanket, those 2 sizes too big shoes, and a name. One name someone whispered to her before she left. The children are being taken to Camp Brower, in the north. Camp Brower. She had never heard of it, but someone scratched a rough map in the dirt for her. 1,000 miles, through mountains, through enemy territory, through winter. Any sane person would have said, "It's impossible." Mara said, "I'll leave tomorrow." The first week was the hardest. Her feet bled through her shoes by day 3. She tore strips from her blanket to wrap them. She ate her bread slowly, 1 small piece per day. She slept in barns when she could find them, in ditches when she couldn't. The cold was like nothing she had ever felt, not just in her body, but in her chest. The cold of not knowing, is he eating? Is he sleeping? Is he scared? Is he calling for me? Every night before she closed her eyes, she whispered the same words into the darkness. "I am coming, Daniel. Mama is coming. Don't be afraid." As if somehow, across 1,000 miles, he could hear her. Week 2, she crossed the first mountain range, alone. In snow that reached her knees, she fell 7 times. She got up 7 times. She repeated one sentence, over and over, like a prayer. One more step, just one more step. And somehow, one more step became 1 more mile. And 1 more mile became 1 more week, and the journey continued. By week 6, Mara had walked over 600 miles. Her shoes had completely fallen apart. She was walking barefoot in winter. She had not eaten in 2 days. She was running a fever, and she was lost. The rough map was useless now. She sat against a tree in the middle of a forest, alone.
Freezing, starving, and for the first time, she thought about giving up. Not because she wanted to, but because her body was shutting down. She closed her eyes, and she saw Daniel's face. His blue eyes, his laugh, his small hands reaching out for her.
And she heard his voice. "Mama, don't let them take me." She opened her eyes. "Not yet," she said out loud, to no one, to everyone, to God, not yet. She forced herself to stand. And in that moment, she heard something. Footsteps. She froze. A figure appeared through the trees. An old farmer. He stopped when he saw her. Took one look at her bare bleeding feet, her hollow eyes, her shaking hands, and without saying a single word, he took off his own boots and held them out to her. Mara stared at him. "I cannot take your boots," she whispered. The old man shook his head. "You can," he said quietly. "I have another pair at home. You." He looked at her feet. "Do not." She took the boots. She tried to thank him, but the old farmer had already turned and walked away, disappeared back into the trees. Like he was never there. She never learned his name. She never saw him again. But those boots carried her the rest of the way. All 400 remaining miles. Week 11, day 8. Mara stood at the top of a hill and looked down. Camp Brower, a large grey compound, surrounded by fences, guards at every entrance. Her heart stopped. She had made it. 1,000 miles, barefoot for half of them. Starving for most of them, alone for all of them. She had made it. But now, how would she get inside? She watched the camp for 2 days, learning the patterns, the guard rotations, the supply trucks that came every morning. On the 3rd day, she hid inside a supply truck, covered herself with empty grain sacks, and held her breath. The truck rolled through the gates. She was inside. She slipped out when no one was looking, and then she heard it. Children's voices. Coming from a building on the left, she pressed herself against the wall, moved toward the sound, looked through a small window, and there, in the middle of a group of children, was a boy, 8 years old, thin, pale, but alive, with eyes the color of a summer sky. "Daniel," she breathed. He couldn't hear her, but somehow he looked up, directly at the window, directly at her. His eyes went wide, his mouth opened, and before he could make a sound, she pressed her finger to her lips. He understood. He nodded, and for the first time in 78 days, Mara smiled. I won't tell you every detail of what happened next, because some things belong only to Mara and Daniel. What I will tell you is this: they got out, together. It took 3 more days. 3 more days of hiding, of waiting, of praying, but they got out. And when they finally crossed the last fence, when they finally felt free soil under their feet, Daniel looked up at his mother, at her hollow cheeks, her cracked lips, her scarred and blistered feet, and he asked, "Mama, how did you find me?" Mara looked down at her son. She pulled him close, and she said, "I walked, single quotes, just that, I walked." Daniel was quiet for a moment, then he said, "How far?" Mara looked out at the long road ahead of them, still so far to go, still so much unknown. But her son's hand was in hers, and that was everything. "Far enough," she said. "Far enough." Mara's story was never in any history book. Her name was never in any newspaper. No one gave her a medal. No one called her a hero. She was just a mother who walked. But here is what I want you to remember. Every single day, somewhere in this world, a mother is walking. Maybe not 1,000 miles, maybe just across a room. To check if her child is breathing, to pull a blanket tighter, to whisper, "I love you," to a sleeping face, and that is the most powerful force that has ever existed on this earth. If this story moved you, like this video, share it with your mother, or share it for the mothers who are no longer here. Subscribe to Untold True Stories, because the world has forgotten too many stories like this one. See you in the next one.